Hello, fellow gardeners. I'm Robin Lindsay. I garden in Zone 6 in Northwest Connecticut. You may know me from my travel and garden photography on Instagram, but I'm an avid gardener. I started a new garden here 6 years ago, totally from scratch. As we go through this season, I will explain my decisions on where I started and how things are constantly changing. As you can see, the garden has changed significantly from the beginning when there was absolutely nothing, as you can see in these drone photos. This year's projects include 3 new beds. Since gardens are always evolving, and the same goes in this one, I started with nothing, and I hope you'll find it interesting as I introduce you to my garden, talk about how it's evolved and how we are changing things this year. This bed is being extended, and as you can see a little bit right here, of course we have a sprinkler in the way, because that's always what happens. Best laid plans never work out. This is bed 1. I'm going to show you how I took a blank slate and turned it into a beautiful garden that this year is on the Garden Conservancy Open Days program on June 4th. If you're like me, you have a lot of spring cleanup to tackle. Leaves that weren't removed in the fall, trees and shrubs that need pruning, and cutting down any grasses and perennials you left up for the birds all winter. I left up all my coneflowers and black-eyed Susans. These spireas you see here are getting cut back as they're too tall in front of these oak leaf hydrangeas, which have beautiful fall color. Our goal for this week was to get this wisteria off the original arbor and onto the secondary arbor here. It's just out of control, growing way too vigorously. The vine is gotten very thick. I'm not sure if it's going to work, but we're going to attempt to cut it down and rejuvenate it, and hopefully we'll be able to save it and move it to the larger arbor. So don't get discouraged if your garden looks like mine. It's a mess, and that's the problem with spring. We still have all those beautiful but pesky leaves that fell down all over the place. We need to replace the supports for the taller items in your garden, and getting it ready so when everything is growing, your beds are ready to go. This bed has hydrangeas and clematis and roses and phlox and Kusa dogwoods and many daylilies and grasses. I'm a big collector of daylilies. Here's a close-up of the Kusa dogwood fruit, Lady of Shalott, David Austin roses I have in this bed. So heading over into this bed, you can see what it looks like in the spring with all the allium globemasters that are starting to come up, Siberian iris, Nepeta. This is one of my favorite beds. It's my purple bed. Beautiful Japanese maple. So moving over here, I have a large fig tree that I put inside all winter. We've brought it out, but unfortunately it's gotten a little cold and we've had to cover it, which doesn't make me very happy. You can also see my big project for this weekend was to get that trumpet vine cut down so we could actually access the birdhouse there. Bed number 2, we're trying to remediate water still. We have a lot of water issues on this property. We're at the bottom, basically the bottom of a very large mountain, and we're adding some more drains that are going to tie into the drain system that we have underneath this path that you can see here. Hopefully this is going to work. So the French pussy willows are blooming all over our yard. We had to, and I have 4 of these, and I cut them actually for the winter, which was really lovely. In this area, which is towards the back of our yard, we had to extend this bed last year when we had to move the 3 large spireas you see there at the end. So we are gonna join to a new bed that we're making over here, bed number 3 that we're adding, and my husband is slaving away over here, making raised beds for cut flowers, strawberries, vegetables. We'll add some shrubs in here, some hydrangeas, some evergreens. The area back here backs up to a conservation property, and there's a lot of bramble and prickers here, so we're trying to make a bed to divide that from our property. So just in case you haven't ever followed my blogs or followed me on Instagram, My garden, like I said, was brand new. These large trees were all put in by us. There was absolutely nothing here when we started. So these large firs, spruces, that giant Norway spruce, these things have gotten huge. So my advice is, if you can afford to put in large trees, now I didn't put in trees that were this size, obviously, but the largest you can put in, I suggest you do. Smaller trees, however, will acclimate much quicker, but I like to put in the largest that I can afford at the time. Heading back over in this direction, I have two very large hawthorn winter king trees planted. They're beautiful in the spring with their gorgeous white flowers. They're just the highlight of the spring garden here. And in the fall, beautiful red berries. Birds absolutely love them. So as we move around, there's that trumpet vine I've got to cut down. We are going to continue up the path. So we have beds on both sides with lilacs and ninebarks and salix and daylilies and other perennials. You see the ninebarks here. While they're just beautiful in all seasons with their peeling bark. Then we have cotinus smoke bush up here. We have some river birches. They absolutely love the water, thank God. Hydrangea quickfire is also up here. Then moving around towards the front of the house, you can see we have the peonies are all cleaned up. The roses here are cleaned up. I have several peonies: Ito, Canary Brilliance, Festiva Maximus, Sarah Bernhardt, Door Number 1. I have quite a few of them. The Spirea ogon is starting to come up. It's such a beautiful shrub. First it was beautiful flowers, then beautiful yellow-green foliage all summer long. Probably my favorite shrub. Then moving over here, we have the red twig dogwoods. This is Bailey's red twig dogwood. This bed gets a lot of water, so thank God between the river birches and the dogwoods there, they can handle it. Magnolia sensation in this bed with a lot of winter berries. We even finally have some tulips that are coming up. There's a few different varieties. In this bed I planted 700. This is white trumpeter, candy prince, very chic, are right here. Queen of Night, I think, is also in this bed. Like I said, I planted like 700. This is what the front yard should look like in a few months. Then this year, I am actually trying winter sowing for the first time. I don't know if you're familiar with this. You plant your seeds outside, you let nature take over, and when it's time for things to bloom, then they're going to bloom by themselves. And then you open these up, and you can put them in the ground. You don't need to harden them off or anything. So I'm really excited. I've never tried that before. Then this bed has an crabapple in it, lots of daylilies. I have Eulalia Ethel Peters, I have Passion's Lunar Eclipse, Black Friar, there's boxwoods, there's grasses, daffodils and hyacinths. I'm really excited to see all this stuff coming up. Finally, spring, I think, is almost going to be here. And I can't even believe how much the Camassia have come up since I cleaned up this flower bed. We even have another wisteria on an arbor with some new dawn roses. So I hope this little overview will give you a nice introduction to my garden. I hope you'll consider following along so I can explain how I started from nothing and really created a beautiful garden. Be patient with the voiceover, please. I'll get a microphone, I promise. And really, I hope you'll continue to follow me, whether here on YouTube or on Instagram at Lindsay Designs. And here are some overviews of, like I said, where my property started and where it is today. Of course, it's always changing. Thank you so much for watching.